Our world is a place of endless wonders and shadows, where vast forests stretch like green oceans. Remote mountains pierce the sky like ancient guardians, and isolated islands hide secrets in their misty shores. Science has mapped much of our planet, explaining the stars above and the depths below. Yet mysteries linger in the wild places. Creatures whispered about in the dark, sightings that defy logic, and legends passed down through generations. These enigmas remind us that not everything can be captured in a lab or explained in a book. They pull us into the unknown, making us question what hides just beyond the trail's end. If these tales intrigue you as much as they do us, hit that like button to show your support. Subscribe for more journeys into the unexplained. Share this with a friend who loves a good mystery, and drop a comment below with your city and where you're rewatching from. Let us see how far these stories reach. In the heart of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where dense jungles swallow rivers and sunlight barely touches the ground, reports have emerged of a strange primate that challenges what we know about chimpanzees. This creature, often called the spiny-backed chimpanzee, or sometimes the spiny-backed chimpanzee due to its eerie appearance, has been described by a handful of witnesses as something out of a forgotten evolutionary branch. The stories center around the regions near Lake Tanganyika, a massive body of water that borders the country and hides its own share of aquatic mysteries. Here, the forest is so thick that entire species could live undetected, their calls blending with the chorus of known animals. The most detailed account comes from an anonymous member of a United States Navy SEAL team who claimed to have encountered these beings during a mission sometime between 1997 and 2002. The team was deep in the Congolese wilderness, navigating the challenging terrain near the lake, when they stumbled upon a group of 13 bipedal chimpanzees in the midst of a hunt. These weren't ordinary chimps. Standing about 4 to 5 feet tall, their bodies were covered in gray fur. But what stood out most were the spines protruding from their backs like porcupine quills that rose when the animals became agitated. The witnesses described the spines as sharp and defensive, perhaps used to ward off predators or during conflicts. The group was working together to take down another animal, showing coordinated hunting behavior that echoed the pack dynamics of known chimpanzees, but with an added layer of ferocity. One report even mentions that the team captured video footage of the encounter, but due to the sensitive nature of their mission, it's said to remain classified within government archives, out of reach for public scrutiny. Eyewitnesses emphasized the creature's agility and strength. They moved on 2 legs more often than typical chimps, which usually knuckle walk, and their gray bodies blended seamlessly with the misty undergrowth around the lake. The spines, described as standing erect during moments of tension, added a bizarre, almost otherworldly element to their appearance. Locals in the area have whispered about similar beings for years, though their stories are often dismissed as folklore or exaggerations born from the fear of the unknown. Philippe Coudray, a French author and illustrator, even documented this cryptid in his 2009 book, Guide des Animaux Cachés, which translates to Guide to Hidden Animals. This brings an extra layer of documentation to these mysterious jungle primates. Cryptozoologists have proposed a few theories. Could this be a new subspecies of chimpanzee with a unique mutation? Or perhaps it's a completely undiscovered species of great ape, one that has evolved in isolation in the dense Congolese forests. The bipedal stance is particularly fascinating, as it suggests a more human-like evolution. And those spines? It's an unheard-of trait among primates. Are they made of keratin, like our hair and nails, or something else entirely? Could they be used for display, defense, or even communication? The mystery is deepened by the lack of physical evidence. No bones, no quills, and certainly no official photographs. The SEAL team story, if true, is the most compelling piece of evidence we have. A highly trained military unit, operating in one of the most remote places on Earth, wouldn't mistake an ordinary animal for something so bizarre. Their description is detailed and consistent. Bipedal, gray with defensive spines. The claim of classified video footage is a tantalizing piece of the puzzle. It makes you wonder what else might be locked away in government files, hidden from public view. Is the government protecting a new species? Or are they hiding something else? The idea that such a creature could exist, hunting in packs right under our noses, is both thrilling and unsettling. Without concrete proof, the spiny bat chimpanzee remains a cryptid, a shadow in the jungle. But the stories from credible witnesses and the long-standing local legends suggest that there might be something more to this than just a campfire tale. The world is full of surprises, and the deep, unexplored corners of our planet could still hold creatures beyond our wildest imagination. What do you think? Is this a real, undiscovered primate? Or is it a case of mistaken identity and exaggerated tales from the jungle? Where he pieced together the Navy account and suggested the sighting occurred close to Lake Tanganyika shores, given the team's naval affiliation and the region's limited access to water. Kudre's illustration depicts a muscular primate with a row of quills along its spine, hunting in a pack, which aligns with the described group behavior. Skepticism surrounds these reports, as it does with many cryptid sightings. Critics point out that no physical evidence like bones, hair samples, or clear photographs has ever been produced. The anonymous nature of the Navy witness raises questions. Why hide their identity if the story is true? Some suggest it could be a hoax, perhaps inspired by the region's rich biodiversity and the human tendency to embellish tales from remote areas. Others propose misidentification. For instance, the pato, a loris-like primate native to African forests, has a row of spines along its back used for defense. However, patos are small, nocturnal, and don't resemble chimpanzees in size or behavior. They're more like slow-moving tree dwellers than aggressive hunters. Could the witnesses have seen a group of chimpanzees that had somehow interacted with porcupines, leading to quills embedded in their fur? That seems unlikely, given the coordinated spines described. When compared to known primates, the spiny bat chimpanzee stands apart. Common chimpanzees, our closest relatives, live in social groups and hunt cooperatively, but they lack any spinal adaptations. Their fur is black or brown, not gray, and they don't have quills. Bonobos, another Congolese species, are even more peaceful and lack such features. Yet, the Congo Basin is home to the Bili apes, a subspecies of chimpanzee discovered in the late 1990s that are larger than average, with skulls measuring over 220 millimeters bigger than typical chimps. These apes exhibit behaviors like ground nesting and tool use that differ from other chimps, showing how variations can exist in isolated populations. Perhaps the spiny-backed version is a further mutation, a genetic quirk that provides camouflage or protection in the dense, predator-filled forests. The Congo's vast, impenetrable jungles offer a perfect hiding place. Covering millions of square kilometers, these forests are among the least explored on Earth, with new species discovered regularly like the okapi in the early 20th century, which was thought to be a myth until proven real. Human encroachment, logging, and conflict have pushed wildlife deeper into remote areas, but satellite imagery shows huge swaths remain untouched. If a small population of these spiny chimpanzees exists, they could evade detection by sticking to the thickest underbrush near water sources like Lake Tanganyika, where fish and other prey abound. Their group hunting might allow them to thrive without needing large territories, blending into the ecosystem like ghosts. These accounts force us to wonder, in a world where science uncovers new animals each year, could such a primate have evolved unnoticed? Or are they echoes of fear in the wild, amplified by isolation? The mystery lingers, drawing explorers to the Congo's shadows, hoping for a glimpse of spines against the green. Deep in the rainforests of Seram Island, part of Indonesia's Maluku province, ancient folklore speaks of a winged terror that haunts the night skies. Known as the Orang Bati, which roughly translates to man with wings in the local language, This creature is described as a humanoid figure with bat-like features, blending human and animal in a way that chills the blood. The island's dense jungles, volcanic peaks, and isolated villages provide a backdrop where legends feel alive. And the Orang Bati has been a part of that tapestry for centuries, instilling fear among the indigenous people. Local stories paint a vivid picture. The Orang Bati stands about 5 feet tall, with an ape-like body covered in blood-red skin. Its most striking features are massive black leathery wings, like those of a giant bat, and a long, thin tail that whips through the air. Villagers say it emerges at dusk from the craters of Mount Karatu, an extinct volcano, swooping down to raid settlements. What makes it truly horrifying is its alleged habit of kidnapping children and infants, carrying them away to be devoured in hidden lairs. These raids are said to happen under the cover of darkness, with the creature's wings silent as it glides, only betrayed by a low, guttural cry that echoes through the trees. The folklore dates back to at least the 15th and 16th centuries, when Christian missionaries first arrived in the region. Historical records from that era describe a winged monster terrorizing the village of Uror on Seram, snatching away the young and vanishing into the night. These early encounters were documented by European visitors, who heard the tales from frightened locals and sometimes claimed to have witnessed the beast themselves. The consistency is striking over decades, even centuries. The descriptions remain similar. A flying humanoid with predatory instincts, tied to the island's volcanic landscapes. One of the most compelling modern accounts comes from Tyson Hughes, an English missionary who traveled to Seram in 1987 on an 18-month contract to help the Moluccan tribes develop better farming practices. At first, Hughes dismissed the stories as superstition, common in remote areas where education and science hadn't fully penetrated. But as he built trust with the villagers, the tales poured out. Families hiding their children at night, strange shadows crossing the moon, and screams from the forest. Midway through his stay, Hughes claimed to have had his own encounter, a glimpse of the creature silhouetted against the sky, its wings spread wide as it circled overhead. This experience transformed him from skeptic to chronicler, and he began documenting the local stories in detail, sharing them with the outside world upon his return. Hughes's reports added a layer of credibility, coming from an outsider with no prior investment in the legend. The cultural context deepens the mystery. In Indonesian folklore, especially among the Moluccans, spirits and demons often take animal forms, reflecting a worldview where the natural and supernatural intertwine. The Orang Bati is seen not just as a beast, but as a harbinger of evil, perhaps a demon punishing the wicked or a guardian of the volcano's secrets. This fear is palpable. Villagers perform rituals to ward it off, avoiding certain paths after dark and telling stories to educate the young. The consistency of sightings over time suggests something more than mere imagination. Reports from different generations describe the same red skin, the tail, and the child-snatching behavior, pointing to a shared cultural memory that endures. Possible interpretations vary widely. Skeptics argue it's a myth born from fear of real predators, like large bats or eagles that could snatch small animals, or even children in rare cases. Indonesia is home to the world's largest bats, such as the flying fox, with wingspans up to 5 feet, but they lack the humanoid body and red skin. Some propose it's a surviving pterosaur, a prehistoric flying reptile, though science deems that unlikely given the fossil record. Others see it as a cultural archetype, similar to vampire legends in Europe, amplified by isolation. Yet, the eyewitness consistency and Hughes' account invite speculation. Could it be an undiscovered primate with gliding membranes, evolved in Seram's unique ecosystem? The island's biodiversity, with many endemic species, leaves room for surprises. The Orang Bati's elusiveness fits its habitat-dense rainforests and rugged volcanoes where humans rarely venture. If real, it could roost in caves during the day, emerging only at night, making detection difficult. These stories remind us that in places like Siram, where tradition meets the wild, the line between legend and reality blurs, leaving us to ponder what truly flies in the tropical night. Across vast continents separated by oceans, tales of massive, hairy humanoids echo through history, linking North America and Australia in a web of mystery. In the Pacific Northwest of the United States and Canada, it's known as Bigfoot or Sasquatch, a towering figure said to roam the evergreen forests and misty mountains. Down under in Australia's rugged outback and dense bushlands, a similar being called the Yowie haunts the wilderness, rooted in Aboriginal lore. Both creatures share uncanny resemblances, elusive giants that leave footprints in the mud and whispers in the wind. Yet they carry the unique flavors of their lands, challenging us to consider if parallel legends point to something deeper. Eyewitness reports of Bigfoot date back centuries, with Native American tribes like the Salish people describing Sasquatch as a wild man of the woods, a being both feared and respected. Modern sightings surged in the 1950s, when loggers in California found enormous footprints around their equipment, measuring up to 16 inches long with a stride far beyond human capability. Witnesses often describe a creature 7 to 10 feet tall, covered in dark brown or reddish hair, with broad shoulders and a conical head. They report deep, guttural sounds, howls that pierce the night, and a musky odor that lingers in the air. Blurry videos, like the famous 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, show a large, bipedal figure striding across a creek bed, its arms swinging in a way that some experts say couldn't be faked easily. Thousands of accounts exist, from hikers spotting it vanishing into the trees to drivers glimpsing it crossing remote roads. In Australia, the Yowie's stories are woven into Aboriginal Dreamtime narratives, where it is known by names like Quinkin or Jimbra among different tribes, a hairy giant roaming the land since ancient times. Eyewitnesses describe it as 7 to 12 feet tall, with shaggy hair, sometimes black or gray, and a face that's more ape-like than human. Footprints found in the Blue Mountains or Queensland's rainforests show 5 toes, often with an enlarged big toe, and trackways that suggest a heavy, deliberate gait. Sounds range from booming roars to eerie whistles, and some reports include rock throwing or tree knocking, behaviors echoed in Bigfoot tales. Aboriginal legends portray the Yowie as a guardian spirit or a remnant of the old world, with sightings continuing into modern times, like a 1970s encounter where a farmer claimed to see one crossing a field. Comparing Bigfoot and Yowie reveals striking parallels. Both are bipedal hominids, evading capture in remote terrains. Bigfoot in the dense, rainy forests of the Rockies and Cascades, Yowie in Australia's vast, arid outback and coastal ranges. Footprints are a common thread. Bigfoots often show dermal ridges, like fingerprints on the sole, while Yowie prints sometimes suggest 6 toes or variations that hint at evolutionary differences. Legends tie them to indigenous cultures. Native American tribes view Sasquatch as a spiritual entity, much like Aboriginal stories of Yowie as an ancestral being. Yet, differences emerge. Bigfoot is often solitary and nocturnal, while some Yowie reports describe family groups. Blurry videos exist for both, but Yowie evidence includes more audio recordings of strange calls. Their elusiveness makes sense in these landscapes. North America's Pacific Northwest spans millions of acres of wilderness, with thick underbrush and endless valleys where an intelligent creature could hide, migrating with seasons to avoid humans. Australia's outback is even more vast, with harsh deserts and isolated mountains that see few visitors. Dense forests muffle sounds, and footprints fade with rain or wind. If these beings exist in small populations, they could survive on berries, fish, and small game, leaving minimal traces. Scientific considerations temper the excitement. Skeptics point to the lack of fossils, bodies, or DNA evidence. Despite thousands of reports, no conclusive proof has emerged. Many footprints are hoaxed, as admitted by pranksters, and videos like Patterson-Gimlin have been debated as costumes. Ecologically, sustaining a breeding population without detection seems improbable, as large mammals leave scat, hair, and bones. Hair samples often match known animals like bears or deer. Yet proponents argue that eyewitness consistency, over 10,000 Bigfoot reports alone, can't be dismissed entirely. Some suggest they could be relict hominids, like Gigantopithecus survivors, adapted to hide from humans. Indigenous knowledge adds weight, as tribes have described them for generations without modern media influence. These legends persist because they tap into our primal fear of the unknown, the idea that something ancient watches from the trees. Whether myth or hidden truth, Bigfoot and Yowie remind us that the wild still holds secrets. In the heart of Australia's Woronora National Park, surrounded by lush greenery, lies a place called Devil's Pool. It looks like paradise, a serene swimming hole with cool, clear water cascading over smooth granite boulders. It's the kind of spot that invites you to jump in and escape the tropical heat. But posted signs tell a very different story. They warn of extreme danger, of deadly currents that hide just beneath the surface. And the warnings aren't just for show. Since records began, at least 21 people have drowned here, and the true number is likely much higher. Despite fences and designated safe zones, the tragedies continue. The local Yindinji people have a powerful story that explains the danger. It's a Dreamtime legend about a beautiful young woman named Ulana. She was promised to a tribal elder, but her heart belonged to a handsome warrior from another tribe, Daiga. Their love was forbidden, so they ran away together. But the elders found them and tore them apart. Heartbroken, Ulana threw herself into the waters of Babinda Creek. As she drowned, her spirit cried out for Daiga, and the legend says the very ground shook. Boulders were thrown from the earth, and the calm waters turned violent and treacherous. They say her spirit remains in the pool, forever searching for her lost love. She lures young men into the depths, tragically mistaking them for Daiga. There's a scientific explanation too, and it's just as terrifying. The area gets intense rainfall, feeding the creek with powerful surges of water. The granite rocks create hidden underwater channels and siphons. Imagine slipping on a wet rock and falling into a narrow channel. The force of the water, known as a hydraulic, can pin you down with immense pressure. It's like being trapped in a washing machine, recirculating violently, making escape almost impossible, even for the strongest swimmers. Chillingly, most of the victims are young men, which only adds to the eerie resonance of Ulana's legend. Whether it's a restless spirit or deadly hydraulics, Devil's Pool is a place where beauty and danger are one and the same. But it's not just one haunted pool. Around the world, entire lakes, rivers, and forests have a reputation for swallowing people without a trace. These are places where folklore and documented tragedies intertwine, leaving us with questions that science can't always answer. Take Lake Lanier in Georgia, for example. This massive reservoir was created in the 1950s by flooding entire towns, farms, and even cemeteries. The graves and old buildings are still down there, beneath the surface. Over the past 70 years, more than 700 people have died in the lake from drownings, bizarre boating accidents, and other strange incidents. Locals whisper of a curse, of restless spirits from the flooded graveyards. Swimmers have reported feeling submerged hands grabbing at their ankles, and some have even seen ghostly figures rising from the water. Even when people are wearing life jackets, they sometimes vanish without a trace. Is it the spirits of the displaced, or just hidden debris and unpredictable currents? The truth remains murky. Then there's the Manchac Swamp in Louisiana. Legend says a voodoo priestess named Julia Brown cursed the area just before she died in 1915. Her final words were a song, promising to take the whole town with her. Days later, a massive hurricane struck, wiping out 3 villages and drowning hundreds. Today, people who venture into the swamp claim to hear her ghostly cackling echoing through the cypress trees. The natural dangers are real enough: quicksand, alligators, and confusing channels, but the lingering curse adds a layer of dread to every unexplained disappearance. Even rivers hold dark secrets. In Maine, the Saco River is said to be cursed after an act of violence against Native Americans in colonial times. Since then, it's become a hotspot for drownings, with bodies sometimes disappearing only to reappear miles away in impossible locations. And what about forests? The Hoia Basu forest in Romania is often called the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. People have walked in and never come out. Entire flocks of sheep and their shepherds have vanished. Visitors report strange physical symptoms like rashes and nausea, and feelings of intense anxiety. They see strange lights, hear disembodied voices, and witness apparitions. The trees themselves grow in bizarre, twisted shapes, and there's a clearing in the center of the forest where nothing has ever grown. Or consider Mexico's Island of the Dolls. It's not a natural forest, but it's just as creepy. A man who lived there found a drowned girl in the canal. To appease her spirit, he started hanging dolls from the trees. Over the years, he collected hundreds. Now, the island is a nightmarish landscape of decaying dolls. Locals and visitors swear they've seen the dolls move, whisper, and even open their eyes at night. It's a chilling monument to tragedy and grief. These places share a haunting pattern. They are sites of historical trauma, where the land itself seems to remember its losses. They issue cultural warnings that are often ignored, and they rack up a body count that defies simple explanation. Of course, not every deadly location needs a ghost story to be terrifying. Some places are just naturally designed to be lethal. High in the Alps, Mont Blanc claims around 100 lives every year from avalanches, falls, and sudden storms. It's beautiful, but its glaciers are constantly shifting, and its weather is unforgiving. On Mount Everest, the death zone above 8,000 meters is so dangerous that the bodies of fallen climbers are often left behind, frozen in place as grim markers for others. Caves offer another kind of terror. The Tham Luang cave system in Thailand famously trapped a youth soccer team in 2018, but it has a long history of swallowing explorers in its labyrinthine passages and flash floods. Even our own national parks have their mysteries. In places like Yosemite, experienced hikers have vanished from well-marked trails. Their remains sometimes found years later in places that make no logical sense. How did they get there? We may never know. From the toxic fumes of the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia to the extreme heat of Death Valley, our planet is full of beautiful places that can kill you in an instant. They serve as a powerful reminder that nature's beauty often masks its indifference to our survival. These stories, both supernatural and scientific, show us that some mysteries are etched into the landscape itself, waiting for the next person who dares to look too closely. If these tales of hidden dangers and lingering spirits have pulled you in, hit that like button to let us know. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the world's greatest enigmas. Share this video with someone who loves a good mystery, and drop a comment below telling us your city and where you're watching from. Thanks for joining us in the unknown. 7. Patterns of accidents and legends across these places. A pattern emerges. Human perception, risk-taking, environmental hazards, and folklore intertwine to forge cursed reputations. Overconfidence leads people past warnings. Young men at Devil's Pool, boaters on Lake Lanier ignoring signs for thrills. Nature's forces currents, avalanches, hidden debris exploit moments of error. Legends arise from real tragedies, passed down as cautionary tales that sometimes backfire by piquing curiosity. Folklore interacts with psychology. Hearing a curse makes danger feel personal, heightening fear or defiance. Isolation amplifies mystery. Vast forests or deep waters hide evidence, turning accidents into enigmas. Yet many deaths trace to preventable causes, ignoring boundaries, underestimating weather, or lacking preparation. These reputations endure because they tap primal fears of the unknown, of nature's power, of what lingers after loss. Some mysteries, though, transcend places entirely. They center on people who step into the wild and simply vanish, leaving no trace, no body, no answers. Our journey now turns to the most haunting aspect of the unknown, people who step into the world and are never seen again. No bodies, no wreckage, no final messages, just absence. These cases leave families in endless waiting and investigators grasping at shadows. When a person vanishes without explanation, the mind races through possibilities. Accident, foul play, deliberate escape, or something beyond our understanding. In remote skies, vast waters, and isolated trails, certain disappearances stand out for their eerie details and lack of resolution. 8. Frederick Valentich case. On the evening of October 21, 1978, 20-year-old Australian pilot Frederick Valentich took off from Moorabbin Airport near Melbourne in a rented Cessna 182L light aircraft. He was heading to King Island in the Bay Strait, a body of water separating mainland Australia from Tasmania, for what should have been a routine 125 nautical mile flight. The weather was clear, the plane was in good condition, and Valentich had filed a proper flight plan. He carried enough fuel for the trip and return. Around 7:06 p.m., as he flew over the strait at about 4,500 feet, Valentich contacted Melbourne Flight Service. His voice sounded calm at first. He asked if there was any known traffic below 5,000 feet. The controller replied no. Moments later, Valentich reported a large aircraft passing over him at high speed, with 4 bright lights like landing lights. He could not identify it. The controller confirmed no known aircraft in the area. The conversation grew stranger. Valentich described the object approaching from the east, hovering above him, then playing some sort of game by flying over him repeatedly at speeds he could not match. He said it was stationary at times, long in shape, metallic, with incredible speed. His engine began running roughly. In his final transmission, his voice tense, he said, "It's hovering and it's not an aircraft." There was a brief open microphone period with metallic scraping sounds, then silence. Valentich and his Cessna vanished. An extensive search followed. Aircraft, ships, and helicopters combed the Bay Strait for days. No wreckage, no oil slick, no debris was ever found. The official investigation by the Australian Department of Transport concluded the plane probably crashed into the water after fuel exhaustion or disorientation, but they could not explain the radio messages. Some suggested Valentich, a relatively inexperienced pilot with a history of navigation errors and a fascination with UFOs, might have become confused by his own aircraft as lights reflecting off clouds or by a planet like Venus. Others noted he had recently failed flying exams and might have staged something dramatic. Yet the transcript remains chilling. Witnesses on the ground reported seeing a green light in the sky that night, and Valentich's description matches some UFO reports. No conventional aircraft matched his account. No military flights were in the vicinity. The case lingers as one of aviation's most puzzling vanishings, where a routine flight ended in an encounter that defied explanation and left no trace. 9. Great Lakes Triangle, Lake Michigan. The Great Lakes hold more water than any other freshwater system on Earth. Vast inland seas with their own weather systems and hidden dangers. Among them, a region in southern Lake Michigan has earned the nickname the Lake Michigan Triangle, or Great Lakes Triangle, stretching roughly from Ludington, Michigan, to Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and south toward Benton Harbor. Legends claim this area claims more ships, planes, and people per square mile than even the Bermuda Triangle, with disappearances dating back centuries. The first major mystery traces to 1679, when the French ship Le Griffin vanished after departing from what is now Washington Island. Loaded with furs, the vessel and its crew disappeared entirely. No wreckage, no survivors. Some blamed storms, others Native American attacks or mutiny, but the ship was never found until modern claims of sightings as a ghost vessel. In 1891, the schooner Thomas Hume set out from Chicago with lumber, but never arrived in Muskegon. No trace emerged. In 1912, the Rouse Simmons, known as the Christmas Tree Ship, sank during a storm. Its wreck was later located, but for decades it fueled ghost ship tailies. The 1950 disappearance of Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 2501 remains one of the most baffling. A DC-4 with 58 people aboard vanished over the lake on a stormy night. Searchers found only a blanket. No wreckage or bodies surfaced despite massive efforts. Eyewitnesses report strange lights, compass malfunctions, and sudden fogs in the triangle. Boats vanish in calm waters. Planes drop off radar without distress calls. Patterns include clusters around busy routes near Milwaukee and Chicago, where traffic is high. Skeptics argue the triangle is a Mithrax cluster near ports due to navigation hazards. Rogue waves from the lake's shape cause sudden storms, and many missing ships have since been located on sonar. Human error, weather, and heavy use explain most cases. Yet the recurrence unnerves. Vessels swallowed whole, no debris, echoes of older legends. The Great Lakes Triangle reminds us that even familiar waters can hide forces that erase all evidence. If these stories of vanished lives pull at your sense of the unknown, pause for a moment, hit that like button. If the mystery resonates, subscribe to uncover more layers of the unexplained with us. Share this episode with someone who ponders these questions too, and comment your city and where you're watching from. Hearing from you brings these tailies closer to home. 10. Stephen Kabatsky disappearance in February 1978. Stephen Kabatsky, a 23-year-old student at Hope College in Holland, Michigan, set out for a solo cross-country skiing trip near Lake Michigan. He planned a short outing, leaving his car near the shore. Snowmobilers later found his skis, backpack, and tracks leading toward the frozen lake. The footprints continued across the ice for about 200 yards, then stopped abruptly, as if he had simply lifted into the air. No signs of struggle, no hole in the ice, no body. Extensive searches by authorities, divers, and dogs turned up nothing. Kabatsky was presumed drowned, his memorial held. 15 months later, on May 5, 1979, Kabatsky reappeared. He awoke lying in a grassy field in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, over 700 miles east, with no memory of the intervening time. He wore unfamiliar clothes, including a t-shirt from a Wisconsin marathon he had not run. He felt disoriented, cold, and exhausted, with vague flashes of being stranded in darkness, fearing freezing to death. Doctors examined him. No major injuries, but signs of exposure and possible amnesia. Kabatsky claimed no recollection of how he traveled so far or what happened. Theories range from elaborate hoax to genuine fugue state, a rare psychological condition where someone wanders far during dissociative amnesia. Some speculated head injury or hypothermia-induced confusion. Parallels exist globally. People vanishing then reappearing distant with memory gaps, like cases of spontaneous travel or dissociative episodes. Kabatsky later earned a PhD and wrote about his life, hinting at deeper experiences, but offering no clear resolution. The sudden end to his tracks on the ice, the vast distance, the blank period all defy easy answers. His case stands as a rare instance where the vanished returned, yet the mystery deepened rather than resolved. 11. Other notable vanishings history is filled with vanishings that echo across time travelers, hikers, pilots, sailors who step beyond sight and leave no trail. In 1937, Amelia Earhart and navigator Fred Noonan disappeared over the Pacific during their round-the-world flight. Radio signals faded. Searches found nothing definitive, only theories of crash, capture, or island survival. In 1971, D.B. Cooper hijacked a plane, demanded ransom, parachuted out mid-flight, and vanished with the money. No trace ever surfaced. Percy Fawcett, explorer seeking a lost city in the Amazon in 1925, entered the jungle with his son and vanished, spawning rescue missions that claimed more lives. Hikers vanish in national parks. In the Bennington Triangle of Vermont, 5 people disappeared between 1945 and 1950, including a boy whose footprints ended in snow. In the Smoky Mountains, solo hikers like Trenny Lynn Gibson in 1976 left no clues. Sailors like those on the USS Cyclops in 1918 to 306 aboard disappeared in the Atlantic without distress call. Eyewitness reliability varies. Many reports come from credible sources, yet memory falters under stress. Probability favors accident falls, exposure, currents, but the lack of remains in so many cases invites speculation. These vanishings cluster in remote or transitional spaces, trails edges, open water, border zones where help is distant. 12. Strange or unexplained events associated with disappearances. Some vanishings carry reports of phenomena that heighten the unease. Lights in the sky, odd sounds, moving shadows, environmental shifts. In the Valentich case, the pilot described a metallic object with lights before silence. Over Lake Michigan, witnesses mentioned compass failures, fog banks appearing suddenly, bright orbs hovering before boats go missing. In forests, hikers report missing time, feelings of being watched, or shadowy figures before companions vanish. Cryptid connections appear. Bigfoot sightings sometimes precede disappearances, with strange howls or rock throwing. UFO links recur, lights descending, then people gone. In national parks, clusters of cases involve orbs or electromagnetic interference, cameras failing, radios static. These elements suggest patterns beyond accident, something observed, something felt. Skeptics cite pareidolia or coincidence, yet the consistency across cultures and eras keeps the questions alive. 13. Patterns and statistical anomalies. Disappearances show geographic clusters. National parks in the U.S. report hundreds of unsolved cases, often solo hikers in wilderness. The Great Lakes see wrecks and vanishings near busy routes, perhaps due to traffic and weather. Historical recurrence appears. Similar events span centuries, like Le Griffin to modern flights. Statistical anomalies include higher rates in certain areas than expected from population or activity. Some argue underreporting or media bias inflates myths, yet clusters persist. Human factors, risk-taking, isolation explain many, but the no-trace element in clusters defies norms. These patterns whisper of hidden forces or overlooked dangers. As we reflect on lives erased without explanation, our thoughts turn to brighter enigmas, unusual lines that reshape the world, secrets of the cosmos, and ancient civilizations whose knowledge still eludes us. 14. Nikola Tesla was born in 1856 in a small village in what is now Croatia, during a thunderstorm that his mother believed foretold greatness. From childhood, he showed extraordinary gifts, an eidetic memory, vivid mental images of inventions, and a mind that could calculate complex equations without paper. He studied engineering in Europe, then moved to the United States in 1884 with little money but big dreams. Tesla's greatest contribution came in electricity. He championed alternating current AC, which could travel long distances efficiently, unlike direct current DC pushed by Thomas Edison. The rivalry became known as the War of the Currents. Edison, already famous for the light bulb and phonograph, used aggressive tactics. Public demonstrations electrocuting animals with a C to show its danger, even orchestrating the execution of an elephant named Topsy in 1903 using a C. Tesla, working with George Westinghouse, won when a C powered the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago and Niagara Falls hydroelectric plant. AC became the standard for global power grids, enabling modern electricity distribution. Yet Tesla's life was marked by eccentricity and isolation. He never married, claiming celibacy fueled his creativity. He adored pigeons, feeding them in New York parks and nursing injured ones in his hotel room. He had obsessive habits, aversion to pearls, fixation on the number 3. He circled buildings 3 times before entering, and germophobia that grew extreme. He lived alone in hotels, often in debt, refusing royalties that could have made him rich because he believed free energy should benefit humanity. Rumors swirled around him. He spoke of receiving signals from Mars, designing a death ray particle beam weapon, and creating earthquakes with mechanical oscillators. Some claimed mysterious acquaintances, perhaps spiritualists or foreign agents, who influenced his later years. He died alone in 1943 in a New York hotel room at age 86, poor and largely forgotten by the public, though his patents shaped radio, wireless transmission, X-rays, and remote control. Tesla dreamed of wireless power for all, a global energy network, but financial struggles and skepticism halted many visions. His loneliness reflected a mind too far ahead, forever chasing ideals the world was not ready to grasp. 15. Tesla's mysterious photograph among the many images of Nikola Tesla alone in laboratories. Posing with coils or gazing thoughtfully stands one that sparks endless speculation. A photograph said to show him with an unknown woman. The picture, sometimes shared online as rare, or the only one of Tesla with a female companion, actually depicts a man resembling him beside a woman on a beach or in casual setting. Careful examination reveals the man is not Tesla. His features differ slightly in build and expression from verified portraits. Fact checks confirm it as a misidentified vintage photo, perhaps of another individual from the era. Tesla did have documented female acquaintances. He maintained a close platonic friendship with Katherine Johnson, wife of his friend Robert Underwood Johnson, exchanging affectionate letters that hint at deep emotional connection without romance. Actress Sarah Bernhardt admired him publicly. Yet Tesla avoided romantic entanglements, stating he sacrificed love for invention. Speculations about secret relationships or hidden muses persist in folklore. Some tie him to figures like Maria Orsic in fringe theories, but no credible evidence supports a mysterious woman in his life beyond friendship. The photograph, often circulated to fuel enigma, serves as a reminder of how myths attach to solitary geniuses, filling gaps with imagined intimacy. 16. Oumuamua, October 2017. Astronomers using the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii detected an unusual object speeding through our solar system. Designated 1I Oumuamua Hawaiian for scout or messenger from afar, it became the first confirmed interstellar visitor originating outside our solar system. Unlike comets or asteroids bound to the sun, its hyperbolic trajectory showed it entered from interstellar space, passing closest to the sun in September before racing away. Oumuamua appeared elongated, cigar, or pancake-shaped, tumbling end over end, with a reddish hue suggesting organic-rich surface material weathered by cosmic rays. It accelerated slightly beyond gravitational expectations as it departed, no visible outgassing like typical comets, yet a non-gravitational push. Scientists proposed explanations. Hydrogen outgassing from water ice, trapped molecular hydrogen released by solar heating, or thin nitrogen ice sheets sublimating. Most astronomers now view it as a natural interstellar comet fragment or planetesimal relic, perhaps an exo-Pluto from another system. Debate continues. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb suggested artificial origin, a light sail from an alien probe, due to its shape and acceleration. Though mainstream views favor natural causes, observations were brief. It faded quickly. Recent refinements using Mars-orbiting spacecraft data sharpened its path, confirming interstellar origin from the Milky Way's disk, aged perhaps billions of years. Oumuamua opened eyes to frequent visitors, perhaps one per year, passes undetected, reminding us our solar system is not isolated, but part of a vast, wandering cosmic traffic. 17. C. 2019 Q4, Borisov. 2 years after Oumuamua, in August 2019, amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov spotted a fuzzy object from Crimea, designated C2019Q4, later to I. Borisov. It became the second interstellar interloper and first confirmed interstellar comet. Unlike Oumuamua's asteroid-like appearance, Borisov showed a clear coma and tail outgassing dust, gas, and carbon monoxide behaving like solar system comets. Observations revealed a nucleus about a kilometer wide, richer in carbon monoxide than typical comets, suggesting formation around a cooler star. Its hyperbolic eccentricity of 3.36 and excess velocity confirmed extrasolar origin. Colors resembled Oumuamua somewhat, but activity differed. Borisov displayed standard cometary traits, including CN detection and outgassing as it neared the Sun. Significance lies in comparison. Oumuamua puzzled with no visible activity yet acceleration. Borisov matched expectations for an interstellar comet. It provided clearer data, brighter, longer. Observation windows showing interstellar objects can resemble our own. Borisov's path traced to the galactic disk, possibly ejected long ago. Together, they prove such visitors exist, diverse in nature, offering glimpses into distant planetary systems' chemistry and formation. Traveling 24 kilometers per second, it arrived from the Sun's direction, evading early detection until hours before. Programs like NASA's NEO observations scan skies, but resources limit coverage. Each undetected flyby underscores need for better defense. Telescopes, deflection tech like DART mission. We live in a cosmic shooting gallery. Awareness grows, but the next rock could arrive unannounced. Vast wilderness areas like national parks hold beauty and peril. Clusters of unexplained vanishings hundreds documented fuel speculation. David Paulides missing 411 series notes patterns. People disappear in clusters, often near boulder fields, water, or bad weather. Experienced outdoors people vanish. Dogs fail to track. Remains sometimes appear in impossible spots years later. The Bennington Triangle in Vermont's Green Mountains exemplifies this. Other parks report odd phenomena: orbs, shadowy figures, time slips. Some linked to cryptids or portals, though skeptics cite accidents, exposure, wildlife. Wilderness patterns, solo hikers, sudden storms, vast scale explain many, yet no trace cases persist. These stories evoke ancient fears. The forest is living entity, indifferent or watchful. The Maya, Aztec, and Inca built remarkable societies in challenging environments. Maya in Mesoamerica's jungles developed advanced mathematics, zero concept, precise calendars tracking Venus cycles. Recent LiDAR surveys reveal vast networks, interconnected cities, superhighways, millions in hidden settlements, far denser than thought. Skull deformations' intentional shaping for status appeared across cultures, perhaps beauty or elite markers. Caves held sacred power, Maya pilgrimages to underworld entrances for visions, rituals. Their legacy's architecture, knowledge endure, hinting at sophistication we still uncover. This documentary, for educational and informational purposes, draws from available research. Some mysteries remain unsolved, inviting continued curiosity. As we conclude, consider this. The more we discover about brilliant minds, wandering worlds, hidden threats, vanished souls, and lost empires, the more we realize how much remains unknown. The universe holds endless secrets, and our search binds us to wonder.